You fail at application security. It may be a bold statement, but it's true for most organizations today because application security is such a complex topic. In this talk, I will explain the most common issues in application security and how you can start improving it in your organization. Let me start with introducing myself first. I'm Felix. I'm in charge of the application security division at About You and Scale. I started working in the field of security 10 years ago. So let's look at the agenda of today's talk. I will start by outlining the three most important goals of application security. We will look together at what companies do nowadays to achieve these goals and where the issues lay when they do. Lastly, I want to highlight the most effective fixes for the issues covered. So let's begin with the goals of application security. And there's one goal above everything, and that is to avoid this. These are articles about 4 well-known companies that had public security issues in the last 3 years. While it may not be the end for these companies, it may come at high costs. So users may trust these companies less, investors may lose their trust as well, and there may be fines, lawsuits, compensational costs, and so on. So number one goal is to prevent ending up on the InfoSec news. And I don't mean hide your stuff. I mean, don't give them food to let you end up on the InfoSec news. This is closely followed by protecting the crown jewels of your organization. Crown jewels refer to the most valuable assets of the organization. This includes most critical data, trade secrets, proprietary information, and control over critical servers and networks. Usually, if you protect your crown jewels, it's rare that you end up on the InfoSec news. Lastly, one goal that is often overlooked by many companies, that is to educate and empower developers to write secure code. And I want to emphasize on this, especially here, because I do expect most of you to be developers. If the developers do not know how to write secure code, you're going to have a hard time protecting the crown jewels and are more likely to end up on the InfoSec news. Now, I want to hear from the audience. What are you doing in regards to application security? Do you feel empowered to write secure code? Are there any volunteers? Promise we won't judge, and you may start your sentence with I used to work at this company and they did something. Any takers? Come on, don't be shy. So you're all doing nothing for application security? There's one brave enough man. Please go ahead. Can you repeat? Nice. So a lot of security for dependencies, automating, updating your dependencies I got, and training for developers. That's really cool. Nice. Any other takers? There we go. Yes? So your company hired an external pen testing company and then tried to fix the issues they found. Can I ask how regularly they have done it? Was it once a year? Okay, yeah, that is really common. Okay, any more stories you want to tell up there? Yes. Sorry, say again. Linters, yes. So integrate something in your CI/CD basically, and try to find issues early. That's also good. Nice. Okay, let's look at the most common examples that I've seen in my professional career. We already heard something. So this may be, for example, employing a dedicated in-house security team, or the contrary, as we may have heard over there, outsourcing the security to a security consultancy. Automated patching, we heard. Regular security scans, however they may look like. Many companies also try with a bug bounty program. I also heard about this company that just named someone data protection officer and then be done with security. that happens. And some rely on web application firewalls and so on. Right? So, and I'm not saying that any of these measures are necessarily bad. It is bad, though, if you rely on a single measure to solve security for you. Application security is a complex topic, and it's hard to do right. And that brings me to the problems of application security. So here I would like to introduce 4 categories of challenges within the field of application security. And the first category is scalability. What do I mean by that? Application security doesn't scale with the size of the organization. So the bigger an organization gets, the harder it is to keep secure. The more projects you have, the harder it is to keep up for a security team, if you even have one. More projects and more code means more complexity, and with it, more vulnerabilities. To make things harder, as the blue team on the defending side, you need to fix all the vulnerabilities, while even a single vulnerability may be enough for a malicious actor to get to your crown jewels. Then the second category, knowledge. Security is hard to learn. You need to learn a programming language, its flaws, and the context applications run in. You basically need to know more than the average full stack developer. And it's hard to keep up with the latest techniques and procedures. So while the bug classes and exploitation techniques are fairly stable, you need to know if there is something new and then implement defenses rather quickly. Missing security knowledge is often exploited by people who pretend to be experts. Maybe you have heard of back bounties, where people try to get bounties by reporting like super low security issues to non-aware people. There may also be like these pen testing companies that just run a security scan on your website and then sell you that as a report. And that did nothing but give you a false sense of security. And with that, you have a chicken egg problem, because you need someone knowledgeable to recognize quality in reports and vendors and potential employees as well. The third category I would like to talk about is the mindset. So application security works only if everyone involved is security minded. It is a common problem that there is a lack of accountability and responsibility within dev teams. I don't know how many of you, if you're a developer, are actually responsible for the security of the software you're writing. Like, are you held accountable for any security issues you introduced in the code base? Then security is often thought as an afterthought, as a final check before the go live. And at that point in time, it's usually too late for any fixes. And the fixes are much more expensive than if they had done earlier in the development phase. Some companies also rely solely on automated tools or external companies to manage the security for them. And lastly, the management also needs to be very security aware and needs to invest resources in the security of the company. And that brings me to the last category, which is measurement. So you can't really measure security of your company effectively. You don't know how secure you really are. And a cost-benefit analysis of security is almost impossible. So that makes it harder to argue for resources, as it doesn't generate any money. And next, it's also paradox to spend these resources that you got for protecting the organization and to just creating KPIs and nice graphs. And then lastly, it's hard to find out which actions mitigate the most risk in your organization. And there may be more problems with application security, but I do hope I covered the most important ones. Now, let's talk about some fixes for application security. And I really want to lay emphasis on the plural here, because there is no single silver bullet solving security for you. It's always a mixture of measures. From my perspective, the most effective measure to increase security in your organization is DevSecOps. It's often referred to as shifting left, because it shifts security to the earlier parts of the software development lifecycle. And if you haven't heard of it, DevSecOps is not a technique or a tool, it's more of a culture in the company. So what does it mean? It shifts the security responsibility to the dev teams. So everyone involved is responsible for security. It also implements security in every part of the software development lifecycle, from planning to operating. The security team, if you have one, and you should have one, is more of an internal consulting team. So if you want to do like a risk analysis or a threat analysis early on in the planning stage, you can consult your security team. So you don't need to be the expert. You just need to be responsible for security and ask for help when you need it. This also includes a process to fix vulnerabilities. At About You, we actually managed to reduce the average time to fix a security vulnerability significantly by introducing vulnerability management. On average, a vulnerability is fixed within 70 days, while critical issues are fixed within a week, and high-severity issues are fixed in less than a month. And that is, compared to the industry, really, really quick. So DevSecOps helps with scalability, because the more actively developed projects you have, the more dev teams you have, and with it, more people responsible for security. It also helps to increase the security knowledge of the developers, because security is a priority, and the need for more security knowledge within developers is part of the concept. Lastly, this also helps with the mindset by its design. So in the ideal DevSecOps company, everyone is responsible for security, and therefore it is not a mere afterthought. Next fix is automation. And we heard that earlier. So everything should be automated as much as possible. And that fits really well with the DevSecOps approaches. You may employ static application security testing, SAST, or dynamic application security testing, DAST. So tools early in the development cycle that find issues automatically. Fuzzing could be a specific case of dynamic application security testing. It's rather fitted, like if you don't develop a web application, because the web application fuzzing is fuzzy. You can semi-automate patching of software and dependencies. This is kind of like a philosophical question if you want to completely automate it or not, because updates may break your software and make it like less predictable. Then you can employ vulnerability scanners. And I would also like to include a bug bounty program here. It's not like automating in the classical sense that machines do the work for you, but still you have like a continuous assurance that your program is tested by hackers. And this brings up issues that are rather easy to find quite quickly. Last category of fixes is education. DevSecOps or application security won't work if the employees are not educated well. The most obvious thing to do, and we heard that already as well, is to offer training for developers where they learn how to code securely and what the common pitfalls are and how to find vulnerabilities in their own code. Similarly, a training for QA engineers helps to design the testing process around security. This may also involve a threat analysis. Lastly, you can offer hackathons where you can put the security knowledge into practice. And this may also involve gamifying security, for example, with a CTF-like event where you find flags if you hack an application, and then afterwards you can also fix it. And that gives you a really, really good view on how hackers think and what they're doing to hack your applications. And I want to quickly advertise the workshop of my colleague Tobit tomorrow, Proactive Defense. He basically does that. So visit it if you want to improve your security skills. And education obviously helps with a lack of security knowledge. And these measures should also improve the security mindset of in the company. Okay, this brings me to the conclusion of my talk. So try to not end up on the InfoSec news. Application security is a challenging and complex topic. And most importantly, application security is impossible without the help of you, the developers. Thank you.